All right, well, g'day. Richard Musgrave-Evans here again, and welcome back. Back in the studio, ready to get stuck into a bit more work. Got a fantastic new painting I want to do. Another Outback Harkaroola waterhole. Absolutely love that subject, and I can't get enough of it. Okay, what do I want here today? I reckon that can be where my major hill's going to go, just in here. Like that, yeah. Then I'll come up this way. Maybe come as high as that. Yeah, it can come down like that, that'll be all right there. And let's have a look. Maybe that shoots through here. That's it. Just give it a very rough linear idea. Right, yeah. Okay, well that's pretty much got me started there. What I want. Just a few lines around. A bit of a tree can be here. And go there. All right, let me have a look, see if I've got everything in the right spot. Well, that seems pretty correct in all those areas where they are. So what I'll do now is, as you know, I like to work with the darkest darks using oil paint. Start with the darkest darks first. You can work the other way around, but it's a bit easier. So I'll go for some alizarin crimson. And what I like to use quite often, because the opposite on the colour wheel, a bit of viridian green. Okay. Bit of a dark in there. Nice little dark there. Bit there. Ooh, bit there. After that, this is much closer here, well not much closer, but this is closer, that's setting back into the distance. So what I'll do is I'll soften that stuff a little bit, just lighten the value a little bit with maybe a bit more magenta. Let's just take it back a little bit. Bit of white with that to lighten the value. Alright, well that's working out pretty good. Now I might go for some burnt sienna. I'm going to get stuck. I've gone for the darkest darks already. I've pretty much got that done, so I'll go into the next stage. Go for some burnt sienna, a bit of ultramarine blue, a little bit of white. Just trying to get a nice shadow value of those cliffs. Maybe just a twang of cad orange in the mix. Let me have a look at that. Not too bad. It can go on like that. It's going on beautifully. Burnt sienna, a little bit of these lighter values. Ultramarine blue, which is the opposite on the colour wheel, just to knock it back a little bit. Bit of magenta to warm it up a twang. That's going on nice, just get that into the corners. Nicely into the corner there. Beautiful colour, a bit more cad for reflected light coming up. Up to the edges, nice and neat. Coming through. And magenta, white, just lightening it off as it goes back to this next hill a little bit. just a little bit lighter and it's got a little bit more magenta in it. Just to set it back that little twang. A little bit more blue, white, along with the magenta. A bit more magenta. Yep, not too bad. Go with that. Up there. Make that the lightest there as it goes around the corner. Pretty much correct there. Okay, right, now, going to have this foreground in shadow, so we'll mix up a brew of that. Burnt sienna, ultramarine blue, white. Really nice dark value again with magenta. A bit more magenta thrown in. Blue, white. Mix up a good brew. Ultramarine blue, white, magenta. There's a little bit of burnt sienna thrown in for good luck. That's a nice neutral, washed out kind of mushroom brown colour. Pull that in there. Bring it around like so. Okay, that's good, so we'll go a bit more of that. Titanium white, ultramarine blue, magenta, burnt sienna. That's a little bit more blue, that's nice. It's reflecting, almost like it's reflecting the sky, so we're going to have a blue sky up there. There's a little bit of blue twang through here. So you get the feeling that the sky is reflected in the shadows. Maybe burnt sienna. Up to the edges nice and neat. It's coming along nice. So that can run through like so. Alright, let's see what I've got in a minute. Put a bit of that in there. Okay. Alright, that'll do that for now. Going to go for a biggest difference now. One of the biggest differences is the fact that that's pure white. Well, that's white. Let's get some sky in. Just rub that off. Okay, so I'll start with the lower part of the sky, and I'll go for, I've got a bit of cobalt blue here as well as ultramarine. I'll go a bit of cobalt white with a littlest bit of yellow ochre. Cobalt blue. I'll make up enough of a brew so we've got a bit more. Hang on. There, plenty of white in there. Just a little bit more blue, I reckon, because we're not looking low on the horizon here. We're looking more out, more upwards, because the gorge is so big. You're looking up a little, so you're not looking right down on the horizon level. Okay, that's all right. Can go in there. It's got the knife upside down. Not quite touching yet. I'll get into that soon. First I'll just get some of this in. A little bit in there. Now down here, it's going to be similar, but because it's a reflection, it's going to be slightly keyed down. It's not going to be as intense as the blue up there. Okay. Before I go any further, I'll just establish that edge there. Slightly greener version, just get some little bit of green and yellow in the mix, because it's the colour of the reflection, but it's got a little bit of the watercolour as well in it. Sends it a little bit greener. a little bit more yellow ochre. Sun shining on this part, so that's a lighter value here. It's got sunlight directly on the water, so you can see through the water cleaner here. It's got more of that beautiful ochres through there. A little bit of viridian green. Just move those out of the way. There we go. Made a few cooler shadows in here because there's going to be some cool trees, beautiful arid gum trees by the waterhole. Absolutely loving their location, their living. Stuck in here, which of course will give the reflection in there. Like so. Just put the shadow of a gum tree here for now. A bit more while I'm at it. Let's just get some more of that viridian green and yellow ochre. A little bit of that blue thrown in. Just pulling in some of the shadow colours of the trees that are living in the shadows here. Like so. They can be in there. Right up on the water's edge here, beautiful greens in the shadow, and then we go for the high key stuff in a minute, but for now it's all the shadow version, starting with the darkest darks. Nice. Okay. Well, that's going good, but now what I'm going to do is go for a bit more of the sky, get back into the sky again. And I'm going to go for the ultramarine as it goes up higher, so it's the ultramarine blue. Make it nice and deep. Mix that up. Let's have a look. So it's a slightly darker value. Nice deep value there. Working with the knife upside down. Like I said, I'll get those other edges in a minute, but for now, let's just put that in. Going slightly darker now, a bit more blue, a bit less white. Mix that up lovely with the palette knife. Slightly deeper version. Can go in there, like that. Bit down in here. Okay. Keep on that theory, we'll go a bit more blue. Bit less white. That's a really deep blue, that one. Right up there at the top. Blue heavens. Get the edges all nice and neat. It's going on well. Just keep on with that theory. It goes that way. Not quite touching yet. Bit more. Okay, very good. Mix them together, a little bit of blending with the knife, like so they're not looking at each other. All right, it's getting there. Now down in its reflection, it's going to be lower key. I'll go for a little bit of these. Kill it off with a few other things. Because it's a reflection, you're looking straight down into the deepness. It'll be more of a keyed down version, so I'll get a bit of magenta. Maybe a bit of that green just to set it off, and then the magenta, and that'll make it a really deep value. Lower key. There we go, that goes on there. A bit more. Like that. Blend the two together a little. Key down version. Let me have a look what's going on, eh? Alright, well that's starting to come along well now, but the next biggest difference is getting rid of all this white with that beautiful sunlight. We've got all shadows so far, it's all low key, we're building up. Get some light source on here now, so we'll go for some burnt sienna, cad orange, some white to make a light value, more cad orange, more burnt sienna, a bit more white. Making it a much higher key colour. Let me just have a look what we got. A bit more white, a bit more cad orange. They are a beautiful chocolatey colour. High key. Pull that in like that. Can go in there, go around like so. Yeah. Chunky. Now as it gets a little lower, it's becoming more bleached by the floods, I guess, so it's got more of a magenta and less of that intense orange colour. Just use some of this sky blue and magentas. There's a slightly purple colour in the rocks. That is way off. Magenta and white to lighten it. Let me just have a look. Even lighter, I want to get a lighter value than that. Still has orange about it, but it's a much more keyed down colour. It can come out here like that. And then as it gets right near the edge, it becomes really light. It's different layers, all the rock sediments and whatever else. More white, more blue down here, way less of the orange. Yeah. Sedimentary rock layers. Okay, that's there. We'll just stand back and have a quick look. Well, that's kind of looking correct, but the reflection is a slightly keyed down version, so we'll go a bit more brown. It's a slightly more chocolatey version, keyed down because it's a reflection rather than the pure light source itself. Mix a bit of blue with that. It's a bit more blue. The whole area through there is more like that colour, that kind of white, grey blue. Gets more into the oranges here. Cad orange, burnt sienna. A little bit more white to lighten it, but still slightly weaker than the top version. Burnt sienna, it's got good variety, I just keep varying it as I go. A little bit richer there. Some shadows and stuff on the hills there, so it's got a little bit more richness like that. It's going to knock up a little bit of smaller knife. Got the white. You've seen me do this before. I make a really high key turquoise with the viridian green with pure white. By itself over here. Then once I've got that, I just get some yellow ochre, mix it with that, pull them together. I get this beautiful high key grass colour. There's some nice grasses just here. Right on the edge. digging along there. A little bit over here too. Just put a little bit in. Okay, now there's that shadow up there. Just knock in a quick shadow colour here. Slightly weaker, of course, because it's a reflection again. Maybe some magenta and ultramarine blue to give it a slight blue feeling. It's a complementary colour. The shadow is the complementary colour of the sunlight. Okay. Slightly weaker down here. But some cliffs down here. Magenta colour there. Just lighten that off a little bit more of that grey in there. Definitely lighten it off here. Chunky style. It's quite light and white. I'm going to add more white. It's a very light tone right here near the water's edge. Pull all these edges together for now. The edge of the water, where it meets the land. Unresolved at the moment. Refine it in a minute. Okay, what I'll do now is I've got all the shadow versions. What I'll do is I'll put a bit of light source on. See how we go there. A bit of light over this stuff. Let's go some yellow ochre, white. On top of some of that sky blue, so it's ever so slightly green. Just lightly lick it across. Which way is that one going to go? That way. That way. A bit more yellow ochre in that. Second chunk on there. Like so, you're just getting that, it's just catching the light. It's a downward slope. It's just catching the light. Just keyed it off a little bit there with magenta and blue to send that one back a little, so it's not quite the intensity of some of these other ones. Maybe a little bit of that up there too. A bit more of the yellow ochre. Go up this way. Bit of light source on here. We have a tree down here and the creek itself getting lit up. Right, well, I'll get some real light tone now, get some white. Maybe a bit of cad yellow deep, a little high key colour. Just want to set some light across here. Very light tone there. Setting up a bit of a keynote for other things to follow. Just going to lighten that a bit too, through here. A little bit lighter through there. Cad yellow, cad orange. Big slabs and blocks. Slabs and blocks of the ancient seabed. Flinders Ranges is an ancient seabed that, where it used to be lying down flat, all the different sedimentary layers, and over the years she stood up. That's what you're left with, these big chunks. Okay. A little bit lighter tone in there. Broken colour. Yeah, beautiful. There's some light catching the top of the cliff here. These real high CAD colours, stick that through there. A little bit here. Reckon that up a bit. There we go. Pull that together a little. Soften some of this water. Make things soft and then we'll start reeling it in. Change tack a little. Go for some high key colours here, yellow ochres. But at the same time, we've still got a lot of blue in it. The foliage of these gum trees up north can have a lot of blue in them. It's kind of like a blue-grey-green. Like so. A bit more white to lighten it. As the sun hits it, goes those beautiful colours. Just a little bit of that there. A little bit of that in there. Dancing around here and there. Some could be on the ridge tops. Dancing on the edge of the ridge top there. A bit more white. There's a lot of these just little arid little bushes growing on the ridges here. Throw them in. Get a light value again. Just here, where are we? Lighter value there. Maybe just here too. With the lights really striking across. Oops. Lighten that up. Pull that across there for now. It's all working well. Now we'll do a slight keyed down version in the water here. That can be there. And then there can be just a little bit of that living there. Getting a lot of basic colours in, but what I'm going to do now is just get the knife, just soften some of those values together in the sky because they're all just looking at each other a little bit. Just blend them a bit because skies are very soft. The arid mountains are very chunky, so we really play up on that. At the same time, the sky is soft, so we'll go with that as well. Just put that in right there. Pull that down, clean her up. Clean up a few things with the knife, taking some paint off in some areas, like pulling down and in to bring the foliage back. And blending them up again. Let's do the same down here, eh? Just bring them together. Look in there, slightly softened. Pull those together, little marks, little ripples in the water. So. all starting to come together. Get some bits of cad and just lightly lick them along here to be the rocks. That can be there. There. Just gonna take a little bit off now with the knife. Actually going to take a little bit of that green off. That's more of the shadow area in there and in there. It might even cool it slightly, so I'll put a little bit of blue. Bit of magenta and blue. Just sending it off that little bit. Let's get some more of these high key colours. Just re-establish this little tree here that got lost. A little bit of light. We're painting the very light yellow ochres. A little bit of green mixed with it. High key colours where the light's just catching the tops of the trees. Maybe a little hint of it out here, not much. Hint of it in here. Keep going on that theory. So we've got some yellow ochre, tiniest bit of viridian green just to lighten it that little bit. Very high key colour. Just keep on establishing beautiful bits of foliage here and there. Little bits. Some can be here. Just linking along. Take a bit of paint off. Back to the shadow version. A little bit deeper in value there. Whoops, what are we doing there? I hit a little bit of green that I didn't necessarily want, but that could be a happy accident, you never know. Go with that. Get some keyed down oranges now. A little bit in there. Just bits of oranges kicking around. Keyed down version because that's the bright high key. The reflection is the lower key version. Just get some of this, just key it up ever so slightly. It's a little bit too dull. Pull it up. A little bit of these oranges and ripples kicking around here. Alright, let's get some lighter values. We'll just get some white, a little bit of blue, high key colour, like a sky colour. Just going to pick out some of the water's edge. Just a little bit, get a little bit more blue. Maybe a twang of magenta in that. It's actually a nice rock kicking out here I want to stick in. Just put that water's edge where the sand's wet. It just reflects a bit of sky. A bit more magenta, a bit more blue. Stick a few rocks in and whatever else. Just mystery in that area. And up here, there's some quite high key bits too, where the rocks are quite a light value. So we'll go ultramarine, blue. Just lighten them off a bit. Things are starting to get there, but I feel like I started off from the darks and worked up to the lights and lights. I feel like I've got to keep working up a bit more light, bring some more light into this cliff to really give that contrast between light and dark. So we'll mix up some cleaner colours, those CAD colours, with white, really clean, high key colours, and introduce a bit more of that to lighten the values. And just bring up the more light and shadow version rather than just being sunken in the shadows. Bit of CAD yellow, bit of CAD orange, bit of white. Some really light bits kicking around in there. The thing is, the hills are very chocolatey anyway. They have this beautiful deep chocolate tone. So you don't want to go too light in the CAD colours, but at the same time, you do want to give it a slightly higher key version. Let's put some of that in there. Alright, well things are coming along. Now what I might do is stick a bit of a tree trunk, so I'll get some pure whites. A little bit of CAD yellow maybe. Just work out where I want this to be. Knife on edge. Just pull that down like so. Go for some more of that white and yellow. With the knife on edge, I'll stand out of the way so you can see what's going on here. A bit more white. Just little bits of detail really start to bring it together. Just suggestion of detail. It's amazing what that does. Clean knife. A bit more white. Pull that up. Maybe another one here. And so on and so on. Just grab a little bit of that orange. Bit of orange. Just key that up a bit. Alright, just got to make sure that I've got enough light blue in the water as an accent. Just in this area here, we want it to be very light and clean. Just clean up that mixture that I'm doing a little. Get rid of the pure white and mix the blue into it. Just want that to be beautiful and clean there. Because the reflection, as it gets further out, will be cleaner, and as it comes closer, it will get muddy because you're looking more into the depth and you can see the bottom. But when you're looking out this way, you're seeing much more of the reflection of the sky and everything in a cleaner version. Just keep on moving around, never quite finishing anything. looking for the biggest differences, and I can find up here that I'd like to do a nice CAD highlight somewhere up here in the hills. Set that on like so. Beautiful light striking that absolutely fantastic ancient seabed, which is now raised up on the angle. Maybe just a twang catching here. All right, well, things are really starting to come together, we're starting to get the big impression, but what I'm going to run around doing now is just refining some areas that need a little bit of work, playing some up, playing some down, and just up here what I'm doing is softening the sky to contrast it dramatically with the big chunky rocks. So we'll make that soft. Let's wipe that knife clean. I'll actually get a new piece of paper towel because there's a little bit of rock colour on that knife. We don't want that, we want it to be pure blue like that. That's it. Lovely. Wipe it clean, pull it up. Okay. Just softening. Well, things are really starting to get there now. I feel like I'm starting to get that real big impression, that beautiful feeling of big slabs of palette knife marks to try and imitate the feeling of that chunky ancient cliffs, contrasted dramatically with that beautiful, soft, tranquil water. So I'm getting the marks and I'm just playing these all softly and thin, getting the sky thin as well, so I can really bring up these ancient seabed, this chunky, rock, ochre cliff face. I feel like it's coming along, and I'm also trying to balance the composition, and again, working with light and shadow, bringing it out of the shadow and off into the light, so you've got this kind of afternoon light, not super strong late afternoon light, just that mid-afternoon light, so the sun's getting down a little bit, the cliffs are casting a shadow all around in the foreground, but the tops of the hills are still all getting lit up well and truly. I feel like I've got that. That's a beautiful play of warm and cool colours. Mark making, I purposely put some big marks as well as little marks to get a lot of variety, so up close you get that play of all those different patterns, I guess you could say. You get little marks, big marks, and put them all together, a bit like building a stone wall. You don't have all the rocks the same size. If you want to create an interesting wall, you randomly place large rocks, small rocks, whatever, but they're all within the same consistent key, and that's what you're trying to do here, to keep it all feeling the same, but at the same time varying the marks enough to give interest around the surface of the canvas. All right, let's stand back and have a look, see what I got. What I might do is just get a bit more high key yellow ochres and greens or whatever, and white. Just finish off with a few little marks up here that got a bit lost. Just a couple of trees kicking around up on the ridge. So that'll give you the feeling that there's definitely trees. There's trees in the landscape as well as arid rocks and whatever else. The ridge will pick out, if you can clearly see something, or when you're painting impressionism, you always put your detail where there's a clearly seen contrasting spot. And in this particular instance, contrasting spot is where the cliff meets the skyline. And that way you can pick out your details. I'll take one or two out. Let's have a look. We've got, take that one out because I'm trying to create a random pattern. 1, 2, 3 there. Take that one out. A random pattern of colours, so it's not too monotonous and even, but just at the same time giving the feeling of what's going up there on the cliff. bit of white, maybe a slight suggestion of a trunk as well. All right, well, I reckon I should probably leave it at that. I reckon I've got the big impression now. Pretty happy with what's going on. I really feel like I've captured the beautiful waterhole, subtle little reflections painted nice and flat, contrasting dramatically with the massive chunky technique of the actual ancient seabed, the rocks itself, the cliffs, ochre and oranges and ochres and irons. That's why it's got that red oxide. It's got those beautiful rich earthy colours. Feel like everything's going well. Now what I've done here is I've played with texture. I've gone nice, fairly smooth in the sky, and like I'm saying, fairly smooth and flat in the water to really bring up the contrast between the cliffs, and the cliffs have been applied absolutely chunky style. And when you're there, that's exactly what you feel like. You feel like those Arkaroola cliffs are extremely arid, chunky. They're in the ancient seabed, which has been tilted up. So these big slabs of square rocks and whatever else, and it really lends itself to this knife technique. But to enhance that, yeah, play down a few other things. Make the water soft and smooth, because when you're there on the day, the water is so transparent, so reflective, so beautiful, you feel like you want to jump in. Make it soft and smooth so it'll contrast dramatically against the chunky cliffs. I feel like I've done that. Pretty happy with the way the composition's flowing. I've come from out of the shadows again, moving into the light. So your eyes are drawn to the light. That is, the light source becomes the subject. So you light up the areas that you want the eye to be driven to the most. That's where you put the most light. And where you want people to just sort of, an introduction towards the light is where you have it keyed down and less dramatic tonal values. So in here, it's in shadow, and we've got that beautiful soft feeling, and then your eyes draw out of there and across and up and in. And some of the major marks up here, big chunks. And like I was saying, when you're using a knife technique or any sort of painting technique, the marks can become very much part of the subject rather than just the reality itself. The marks are also the subject. So it's good to have small marks, big marks, whatever, a nice harmony of all different size marks, never quite repeating yourself, just playing into the picture. And that's what I've done here. So I've played around with little marks, big marks, grand finale chunky mark right in that focal area, a few big ones here, some really fine smooth little ones there. On the whole, everything's going well. Picking out, like I was saying, putting up that detail up on the ridges has really pulled your eyes in, because it's a nice focal, it's more refined. In here is more soft, so you tend to flow over that and towards the detail as well as the most tonal contrast and action. On the whole, pretty happy with what's going on. Why don't we get that camera off now, come buzzing right in, so you guys can have a look and see what you think. All right, thank you.